Ladies and gentlemen, coming to Memphis Wrestling on Sunday, January 30th, former AEW Women's World Champion, the Native Beast, Nyla Rose. Tickets are on sale now at championshipwrestlingmemphis.com. Get ready, wrestling fans. Memphis Wrestling is really heating up. Saturday, January 29th, watch WWE Royal Rumble absolutely free. Join us at Dave & Buster's for our next free watch party. Plus, we'll hook you up with a free power card. That's Dave & Buster's Wolf Chase. Sunday, January 30th, the Man Beast, Rhino, is coming to Memphis Wrestling. The return of Tiger Joe. And if that wasn't enough, we'll crown our next Cobra Cup winner. Tickets are available now in advance at championshipwrestlingmemphis.com. Sunday, February 13th, celebrate 1 year with us. It's the Memphis Wrestling Anniversary Spectacular, featuring the Ring of Honor World Champion, Jonathan Gresham. Don't miss history being made at the Wrestle Center. All tickets and details are available right now at championshipwrestlingmemphis.com.
Do you have what it takes to become a pro wrestler? Prove it with the best in Memphis wrestling. I'm head coach King Cobra, and I want to see what you've got. Hit me up today at championshipwrestlingmemphis.com.
American Hostile Championship Wrestling returns to Malden, Missouri, February 12th to the Malden Community Center. That's 607 North Douglas Street in Malden, Missouri. Tickets are available ringside $10. General admission tickets are $8. Kids 5 and under are free. You get $1 off advance tickets. This show features Austin the Reaper Bolo, The Posse, Big Jack Parker Jr., Mid-America Champion Mark Southern Jr., Rude, Jason Bond, Derek, The King, Denzel Rollins, Big Mac, and many more. Card is subject to change. Be there February 12th, Malden, Missouri. For advance tickets, call 636-232-3313. That's 636-232-3313.
Music is my life, and I bet it's yours too. After all, we're all very complicated beasts. You're not just into wrestling, you're into other stuff too. And that's where the record store comes in. I've got 1,000 CDs or so, and I've been a rock fan for as long as I've been old enough to go to, well, the record store. So every week I close my eyes, stand in front of my collection, and randomly grab a CD. Whatever I pull out. Could be old, could be brand new. It's what I cover in that episode. It could be anything, from Asia to Yes, from John Cougar to Elton John, from Rumors to Weird Al's greatest hits. You just have no idea. I do a little bit of homework on the artist, talk about what they mean to me, and who knows, maybe I've had a chance encounter with one of them. And finally, I review the album track by track. I might confirm that it's one of the greatest albums of all time, or I might conclude that buying that album calls for me to have my head examined. Who knows? So join me, Lance Levine, twice a month right here at the record store, and let me remind you how much the music means to you as well.
Hey, just a quick reminder, subscribe for $5, $7, or $10 at www.patreon.com/Shootin The Shiznit without a G. That's right, Shootin The Shiznit without a G. This episode is also brought to you by SpunkLoop.com. Remember, when you're getting funky like a monkey, if you know what I mean, use Spunky. That's right. Go to www.spunkloop.com and tell them STSPod sent you. We can all help prevent suicide. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline provides 24/7 free and confidential support for people in distress, and also prevention and crisis resources for you and your loved ones. Call 1-800-273-8255.
Shootin' the Shiznit, Shootin' the Shiznit, best little wrestling podcast in the business. Your host BT and all his guests. You'll never know who he'll have next. Shootin' the Shiznit, Shootin' the Shiznit, best little wrestling podcast in the business. Shootin' the Shiznit.
Hey, we're live from STS Studios. Oh, it's 304 Studios in Jonesboro, Arkansas. It's an STSPod.club production. And I have with me now is Martin Precious, a.k.a. a couple other names every once in a while. Martin, welcome to the show. I appreciate you coming and sitting down with us.
No, thank you, BT. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
And it's all this. What this is this is our flagship show, and I bring somebody on I known forever, or I don't know at all. The thing about you that makes you different is that me and you've known each other, known of each other for a long time, but probably never just sat down and talked. So I'm going to be learning a lot of stuff about you. You've been in the area as a wrestler for a long time, and I'm really excited about it. I really appreciate you coming on. And you being a main star there in Championship Wrestling for Memphis. So, but what I want to do is where we talk about any of that, I want you to talk to me about growing up as a fan and where did you grow up at and what was the TV show that you watched?
Oh, man. Okay. Back in first, I grew up in Memphis, here in Memphis, North Memphis. It was a pretty rough part of town. My great great grandfather I actually had a chance to live and see my great grandfather, which he passed away in 1991. So I can remember I had got a spanking. I got a spanking. My mom told me not to do something. And I went outside and she told me don't go outside. And it was a Saturday, and my great-granddad, he told me, he said, come sit on my lap. Hush all that crying and let's watch wrestling. Let's watch wrestling. Yeah, we're going to watch wrestling. So it was Saturday morning, and all I can hear in my head is, yellow, everybody. This is Lance Russell and Dave Brown with another day of action. So the summer of 1988 is when I really started watching wrestling through my great-great-grandfather.
Oh, wow. 88. See, man, I'm old. So I was graduated from high school by then, and I started at 78, so I'm 10 years ahead of you. What's your first memories of Memphis wrestling? Who was your favorite wrestlers at the time?
We had Austin Idol, Agent Street, Jimmy Valiant, and the Fabulous Ones. And those was my favorites. And then, of course, when the Road Warriors got hot and started coming to Memphis.
What about you said your great-grandfather. Now, everybody that was that grew up watching wrestling, we believed really strong when we were kids. Was your grandpa still they're really fighting, or did he ever spoil it for you? Did he ever say, hey, they're not really fighting each other?
No, he was never smart. Of course, he wasn't going to be smart, but he was never smart.
Yeah.
And back when I can remember when Yokozuna would do the splash, and he did it on the Ultimate Warrior. My granddad, he couldn't talk too well, and he had names for guys. He didn't call the Ultimate Warrior. He called him the President Warrior. And he didn't call Randy Savage. He called him Randy Savage. So, yeah. So, and he would always say, if I was one of those guys laying down there and Yokozuna sit his big butt on me, I'd take a pitchfork and stick him up. You know what? So, yeah. So he wasn't really smart, but he loved it. I can remember By that time, he was old. My great-granddad lived till he was like 97.
Wow.
So I can remember when he was 88, we took him to the Mid-South Coliseum once, and he enjoyed himself. He couldn't really just sit. He couldn't really get comfortable in the seats, but he enjoyed the show. He really, truly did.
I watched wrestling at one time. I was in college, but then when I would come to home to Still, Missouri, my parents did not have cable. And so I would go to this older guy's house to watch wrestling, and he was the same way. He believed, man. Him and his mom was big time believed in that. I mean, that's okay. That's what it's about. I always remember people telling me, Martin, that my dad said, that he wanted to break kayfabe with me. My daddy did, and tell me it wasn't real. But then he would say, but they get mad at each other sometimes. So, there always was that belief at one time or another that guys were punching each other, and that there was some realness to it, which I think I love that part. I love it that it was still there, that belief. When were you smartened up? You're talking about smartening up. At what point as a fan were you smartened up?
I got smartened up during the early 90s. The very early 90s, because we're gonna get to the part I first broke in, which I broke in the summer of 99. But 92, 93, 94, I really started to understand where I was watching WWF, and they would have this cycle. I called it a cycle, where Hogan would have the belt. He would hold the belt for 3 months. Basically, he would hold it for 3 pay-per-views, and then he would drop it. So when that WrestleMania, I want to say, was it WrestleMania 9 or WrestleMania 10 is when he dropped it to Ultimate Warrior. It was Intercontinental title versus the WWF title. And that's when I really, really got smart to business, because I could tell at the time. I said, okay, this guy just won the Intercontinental title. He's not going to lose it no time soon. So it was basically, okay, belts only change hands at pay-per-views every 3 months. So that's when I started realizing.
That smartened you up, and you said, wait, something's going on here. Yeah. I think I was front row. I was in Blytheville, Arkansas. I was front row at my first show that I ever went to. I went to a live show before I started watching it on TV. And I knew there was something going on, but I really didn't care. I mean, I really didn't. I think the internet made, and then someone gave me a kayfabe sheet when I was, I want to say 86 or 85, right there when I'm going to college, and said, look, here's a Wrestling Observer newsletter. And then that's how I actually got into business, because I got smartened up, and then I would share the newsletter with the boys. And so they would let me backstage so they could read the Observer, and I'd take pictures and all that. But it was one of those things where, and Lance Russell had a great comment about this. Someone asked him, what does he say to people when they say it's a work? And Lance said, well, do you enjoy it? And the person would go, yeah, I like wrestling. Well, enjoy it. It doesn't matter what's going on backstage. Just enjoy it for what it is. And you wouldn't know the ending. So we still don't know the ending sometimes. We can sit and watch the pay-per-views to this day. You've been in the business for a long time, but you still don't know the ending. So it's fun for that. And I think that's part of why I'm still a fan. So you growing up as a fan, Memphis wrestling, did you ever start watching TBS there at 5:05? It come on at 5:05 here in Central Time. Did you watch TBS wrestling, or was Memphis just your wrestling?
No. I tell everybody that Memphis was the gateway, and what I mean by that was Memphis picked up. You could watch. It was Continental Wrestling, CWA, on Saturdays. You could watch TBS, which was at the time it was not W. It was W. Was it? No, it was NWA. NWA.
It's NWA. Yeah.
NWA. Then a little bit late, you could watch AWA. You could pick up AWA, And late Sundays, you could pick up WWWF, Worldwide Wrestling Federation. That was with Gorilla Monsoon and Vince and Bobby Heenan. So
it was OWOR and I would go to my friend's house because they had cable, so we could watch wrestling from New York. And I got lucky here in Jonesboro. The Jonesboro station aired World Class right after Star Trek. So my nerd self was watching Star Trek every Saturday night and then watching World Class after it went off. So I was influenced by, like you said, we got a lot of, if you had cable, you could watch a lot of wrestling in the Memphis area. So growing up, you're a fan, you're all excited. You're just like I was. I want to know everything about every wrestler or whatever. When did you say, hey, I want to get in the business? I want to do this.
My sophomore year in high school.
Oh, wow.
Yes, my sophomore year in high school. I was actually too small, which I played basketball and football. I played football in junior high and I played basketball in high school. But when I realized I hit I just stopped growing. I stopped growing. And I said, okay, I can't make it to the NBA because back in that time, which I came out of school in 98, so before then, it was like nobody under 6'2". NBA was not drafting anybody under 6'2".
Right.
So I said, okay, well, I want to wrestle. But I started kickboxing. I took up some karate lessons and I started kickboxing, which I went to school with Quentin Rampage as well because he went to Raw Legion. We both went to Raw Legion. And I started kickboxing and I didn't really like that. I had maybe 2 fights. And I was like, man, I'm not going to keep getting kicked in the face and this and that. And so I said, okay, I want to wrestle. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do for a living. It's been in my blood. It's there. So I ended up meeting Reggie B. Fine. I was working at Exxon and I met him. And I said, hey, man, I want to become a wrestler. And he said, I can help you. He said, here's a number to Charlie Parks. Call this guy. Tell him I recommended you. And that's where the journey started. It started May of 1999.
And so you go to Charlie Parks and you say, I want to be a wrestler. Tell us about, I always ask this question. Tell us about let's just go with the first week. What did he have you do in the first week there?
Oh, man. I can remember it like yesterday. So we come to training that Saturday morning at 8:00. It was hot. I mean, this is the summertime. We're in mid-May, almost June. And we see the ring. It was about 10 of us. And we go to the ring and he said, oh, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? We're like, we finna go get in the ring. He's like, no, you're not. He said, you see that block? He said, we said, yeah. He said, now run that block 10 times.
So I would have went home at that point.
Yes, but I wanted it. I wanted it so bad. So we ran the block 10 times. He was on a bike, riding his bike, and I didn't understand because I'm just getting, I hadn't even started in the business. I'm wondering why are we running? Why are we running? So then we run the block, then 10 times, and then we come back and we started doing exercises outside the ring. And I raised my hand. I said, why are we doing all these calisthenics and running? He said, son, I usually don't answer this question, but I like you. And I'm going to tell you why. He said, because you're going to need stamina and endurance in the ring. And that was my first lesson. But we didn't hit the ring. We didn't get in the ring and do nothing for 2 months.
Now, was the ring outside or did you have a big build? Ring was outside?
Yes, the ring was outside. It was in the ring was outside in the back. Charlie stayed in Whitehaven and had them nice homes in Whitehaven. So in the backyard, he had a garage with a car, well, not a carport. Man, my mind is not working. Shoot, I can't think of what it's called. It didn't come to me, but the ring was in the backyard. It was set up in the backyard. Yes. And the sun was beaming directly down on the ring.
I heard that before. And there's people that from all over over the United States that listen to it, and the name Charlie Parks is not gonna resonate with them. Tell us about Charlie Parks. You talk a few minutes about Charlie.
Okay, Charlie Parks. Charlie Parks broke into business in 1990. He was trained by Eddie Marlin and Jerry Jarrett, which at that time, once they kind of finished polishing them up, this was right after CWA turned over into USWA, and Jeff Jarrett and Perry Saturn polished him up and finished him, which he started training. Charlie started training with Reggie B. Fine. They started training together in Henderson, Tennessee, and Jerry Jarrett's backyard.
Oh wow!
So, yes. So that's, most people don't know who he is, but he was trained by some of the best.
Yeah, and then had a very long career in the Memphis area. What they call, I guess they call it, I don't know, call it independent wrestling now, but the boys used to call it outlaw. That was an outlaw group that Charlie Parks had. It was an outlaw group that the guys in Blytheville ran at a different place. That's what it was. And then I think LaFont's at one time was there at until it was Moondog. Championship Wrestling. Everybody thought it was Outlaw too until it was Moondog, and I think it kind of got a little bit different then. So where did you start? Did you just wrestle for Charlie when you started out? When did he say, "Oh, you could go wrestle somewhere else"?
Okay, we would do this loop Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I worked for Charlie for 3 years before I was able to go anywhere else. We would do Charleston, Mississippi on Friday. We would come back to Memphis, and we would run the National Guard Armory on Saturdays. And we would drive down to either Jackson, Mississippi, or Crystal Springs. We was down working for NWA Battle Zone at the time. And that's how I cut my teeth in the business. And it was 3 solid years before I was able to go anywhere, because my attitude, my attitude was not right. My attitude, it was like, go yourself in everybody else, and I'm gonna make it. But me thumbing my nose up at everybody else that came in, not knowing that when he brought guys in, they could see us and say, "Hey, who's that guy? We want to use him somewhere else and somewhere else." So my attitude held me back another 2 years. Wow.
Hey, let's take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, I've got a story about when Martin got on my nerves so bad I almost left the dressing room. And then we're going to talk about where you've been wrestling and the character of Precious. So stick with us, guys, and we'll be right back. Are you enjoying the episode? Well, Cash App us. That's right, $BTSTS. You don't have Cash App? Download it and get $5. That's right, $5. That's $BTSTS, $BTSTS. Hey, just a quick reminder, subscribe for $5, $7, or $10 at www.patreon.com/Shootin The Shiznit without a G. That's right, Shootin The Shiznit without a G. Hey, use our Uber Eats code EATS-Brian T 24790UE. That's EAT-Brian T 24790UE. Use that code and get $20 off a $25 order. Hey, I just want to take a moment to tell you about Athletic Brewing Company. This might sound strange to some people, but ABC makes non-alcoholic brews. That's right. I like to taste the beer with my food, but not the alcohol. If you go to tiny.1/STSPod 2022, that's tiny.1/STSPod 2022, and try a 6-pack, use that link. If you buy a 6-pack, you get one for free. Athletic Brewing Company. This podcast is brought to you by Manscaped.com. That's Manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code STSPod20. STSPod20. American Hostile Championship Wrestling returns to Malden, Missouri, February 12th to the Malden Community Center. That's 607 North Douglas Street in Malden, Missouri. Be there February 12th, Malden, Missouri. For advance tickets, call 636-232-3313. That's 636-232-3313.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to Memphis Wrestling on Sunday, January 30th, former AEW Women's World Champion, the Native Beast, Nyla Rose. Tickets are on sale now at ChampionshipWrestlingMemphis.com.
All right, back from commercial. We want to thank our sponsors. Talk to me now. So you worked for Charlie, and then did you forgive me on this, but I can't remember at what point were you on Memphis Wrestling? Were you with Corey's version of Memphis Wrestling?
Yes. Make a long story short, Reggie got me in the business, and he always told me, he said, "Hey, kid," he said, "Hey, pimp, when you get good enough, I'll come back and get you." And I'm gonna get on the expressway with this story pretty quick. Not knowing that Lawler and Corey had been trying to get me on TV for a year and a half, but they couldn't get in touch with me. They knew that the only way that they could get to me was call Charlie, and Charlie and V was basically shielding me.
V is V man.
Yes,
I've worked with him before. Good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So, I get a phone call, and I get home and I answer. You know, this was before cell phones was big, and we still had answer machine. And I check my answer machine, and it's Corey Macklin on the phone, and say, "Hey, this is Corey Macklin from Memphis Wrestling. This is my number. Give me a call." So I'm like, "How you get my number?" I didn't know, but I called Reggie and said, "Hey, Reggie, Corey called me." He said, "Yeah, I gave him your number. They want to bring you up and do TV." So me not understanding, so I pick up the phone and I call Charlie and say, "Hey, Charlie, Corey and Lawler calls me and they want me to come do TV." He said, "Well, do it." So I called Corey back and they said, "Hey, we want to bring you in to Lawler's Army. Do you have army fatigues, a helmet?" So I go and find pink army fatigues, and Reggie has a green army helmet, and he spray paints it for me, and boom, I'm off the TV. So that's how I end up on TV. So I worked with Lawler and Corey in 2005. That's when I got called up. 2005 is when I got called up, and I worked for them 2 years until I got fired.
All right, let's talk about why he's working for him now. Who is some of the guys that? And I was going to ask you this when we was talking about school. Is there anybody else that was in school with you during the time that we would know who they are that's still wrestling this day?
Well,
that trained with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw a couple of names. Out there, which they're not doing much. You have Carnage Antoine, Reno Diamond, Big Ace,
all those guys.
Big Ace, Malik, Simba, and that's about it. Yeah,
and I'll tell you, Reno's one of those guys that to me always made me wonder, why didn't you make it bigger than you did? So good. Reno's always been so good. So you're working for Memphis Wrestling. Tell us some people that you got to work during during the Corey version there for a couple of years before you got fired?
I worked Cassidy O'Reilly, worked him. I worked Bill Dundee. I worked with Brian. I worked with Spellbinder. Worked with Johnny Dotson. Worked with Soul Taker. I worked with Too Cool 2. Too Cool 2. Me and Reggie actually tagged up to work Too Cool 2. Who else did I work?
I love those guys, by the way. I love Too Cool.
Brian Bump and can't think of the other kid, the other
Flex.
guy. Flex, yeah, Flex. I think that's Kid Cash. I work Kid Cash. I work Kid Cash. And I think let's see, a couple of more guys. Picture Perfect. Work Picture Perfect.
When you was working Memphis Wrestling during that, were they letting you guys work like you could work the Outlaw or the indie shows? Because at one time during Power Pro, they didn't want anybody working the indie shows, especially didn't want anybody doing a job on one of the indie shows. So was it okay for you to work another show if you weren't wrestling for Memphis at the time?
Yes, I got that established. The second week that I was there, because it was certain guys that they told that they couldn't work certain shows in certain areas. And with me, it was like, okay, I'm still learning, I'm still green, I'm still cutting my teeth. So I still have to work some of these shows in order to get better. Some of those guys was already here, but my talent level was here. So,
right.
Yeah, so I had to, keep working to get here. So, yes, so that was true. Very true.
So tell me, how'd you get fired?
Well, I remember that clearly, very clearly. Guy named the Hillbilly, Jethro.
Right.
They was pushing him. Lawler, they came to me and said, hey, we're going to put you in a match with the Hillbilly, and we want you to put him over. I said, okay, I'll put anybody over. I don't care. And right before they have a match and go to commercial, and Mr. Coffee comes to me and does this, which if don't nobody know, that means the king wants you. So I go and see Jerry, and he said, hey, change of plans. Y'all up next, but we got about 5 more minutes. He said, what we want to happen is they're going to hit your music, you go out the curtain, Hillbilly's going to come out the curtain, jump you from behind, he's going to run your head into the pole, boom, run your head into the pole, pick you up, roll you in the ring, shoot you off the rope, give you a big boot, shoot you in the buckle, give you a splash in the buckle, pick you up, you stumble out, give you a choke slam, he picks you up, put his finisher on you. And I said, you just killed me on TV. You just killed me. I'm dead. I am dead. And Lawler said, what do you mean you're dead? I said, you just killed my character. I can't come back from that. And Lawler said, what, you don't want to do it? I said, no, I'm not. I don't want to do that. He said, okay, well, get your stuff and get the out. I said, okay. And as I'm leaving, he said, hurry up, and you stupid, dumb, ignorant, black mother. And I said, what? I said, you can't be talking to me. So I'm talking to you. So I turned and walked back, and Bill walks in. Bill Dundee walks in, and he puts his hands in my chest and say, go ahead and leave, kid. He whispered in my ear and said, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And thanks to Bill, that's when Lawler turned and said, you're fired. And I walked out, got my stuff, and I walked out.
Wow, yeah. Growing up with Memphis Wrestling and then working around those same guys that did you – I've had my experiences with Jerry Lawler and Dundee, but did it burst the bubble for you like the first time you worked around them? Was there something there that – the way I describe it sometimes, Martin, is that – it's like growing, we watched Gilligan's Island. I did. Every afternoon, Gilligan's Island, the Jeffersons, things like that. It was like when I met these guys, I was meeting TV stars. They were so popular that it was like, it was Gilligan. It was It was George Jefferson. You see what I'm saying? That's how I considered Memphis wrestlers. But then I realized that they're real people, and some of them are assholes. So,
right. And my thing was that, I wasn't starstruck or anything because, like I said, at the time, Charlie was bringing all kind of guys in. You're talking about from Tommy Rich to Doug Gilbert to
right.
He was bringing them all in. So I already knew them. I had already met them. So I just didn't know that I just kept playing it over in my head and said, what mistake did I make? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Because I was always told, once you get killed on TV, you're no more good. You're no more good.
Yeah, there is validity to that because there is the possibility that no one's ever going to take you serious after that, and so that's where you sometimes have to speak up for yourself. Let me tell a quick story, and then I've got a couple of other questions for you. So we're in Ripley, and Derek King and Dustin told me to be at the baseball field. That we're having a wrestling at the baseball field, but for some reason, I believed it was going to be on the inside. Don't ask me why. But when I got there, it was on the outside, and I was like, it is so hot, And they said, we didn't tell you it was outside because if we did, you wouldn't come. And I go, yeah. So we're all in this little dressing room. You remember this. I talked to you at the banquet about it. And we're in this little dressing room, which is not much bigger than my studio here. And this guy, Precious, is driving me nuts. He is talking constantly and then coming up to me, BT, hey, BT, what do you think about this? Hey, BT, hey, BT, hey, BT. I was like, guys, is he always like this? And they said, yeah, he's always like that. He's always like that. And I went home and I was like, man, how does anyone ever work with this guy? And then I guess we ran into each other maybe a year and a half, 2 years later. I was in a dressing room. I came over. So I think he was at one of Kevin's shows. Mm-hmm. And you was so calm and cool and collective. And you was like, hey, how's it going, BT? Everybody was – you was just a total different person. So I mentioned this to you at the banquet. You said – yep, there is a change there that happened from that guy that was running his mouth all the time to the guy that just kind of sits and listens. That's what the old timers will tell you to do. What happened there? What happened between point A and point B for you?
From point A to point B was that I would always make phone calls and say, hey, I see this show is coming up. Can I come in? Can I work this show? Can I do this show? You don't have to, at that time, I'm still learning. You don't have to pay me. And the biggest knock on me at the time was, and numerous guys told me, they said, there's no knock on your talent. If you just shut that up, you'll make it in the business. Just shut up. Keep your mouth closed. Don't even just zip it. And when I started to close my mouth, close this, open my eyes, and open these, then I started to see more, understand more in the business, and be allowed to get more bookings. And what happened was I was doing a show in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. And Jimmy Hart was there. And my mind just said, be quiet. Just don't, just shut up. And after the show, Jimmy came to me and said, hey, baby, you ever tried to go anywhere, man? I love your character. I love your gimmick. I said, yes, sir. Because, the golden rule in the business, you only speak when you're spoken to. You show up on time, you do as you're told, and you close your mouth. And I said, yeah, Jimmy. I said, I just need some help. And he said, okay, baby, I got you. And he said, here's a number, call this number. And I called the number, and it was the office for TNA. I called Nashville for TNA. And I told them Jimmy Hart recommended me. And they said, okay, we're doing gut check. We're doing TNA gut check. and here's a date for you. Can you make this date? I said, yeah, of course I can. So I end up paying my own way, one round trip up to Beckley, West Virginia. So I end up having a tryout with TNA. And that right there opened my eyes up and said, okay, Martin, if you keep your mouth closed, do as you're told, you'll be okay in the business. So I did maybe a 980, 960 instead of a 360. So that's what turned my whole attitude around. Was like, okay, let me shut up. Let me be quiet.
And so you did some other stuff that I reached out to you a couple of times about that I'm really big on during the website, that I would tell guys in this area, you got to leave this area and go do those seminars. You got to do that because they're going to teach you something. And we talked about this over the phone before we did an interview, that since I started doing the podcast, the last 5 years, I've been around the business since 86 or 87. I still learn stuff. I learned stuff about stuff that you do in between moves. I talked to you about that. I said, it's not just doing the move. It's what are you doing in between the move, and are you going to the crowd? Are you going for the pin? All that kind of stuff I started. And also Memphis Wrestling has kind of I guess I was big into work rate, because I was considered a smart fan. But I think Memphis Wrestling has brought me back to how important the story is. Not only what the matches are, but what part of the story is. And tell me how you feel. You went to a few of these seminars, how they helped you and how much they helped you.
Oh man, they helped me. They helped me a great big deal, which once I did TNA, the gut check, that actually helped me get into OVW. One of the top guys was there, and they seen me, and he's like, hey, man, you got to come to OVW. So I ended up going to OVW, working 2 years. And from that point, went down to Texas and did some shows and did a seminar with the Monster Factory with
Danny Cage in the Monster Factory.
Yes, Danny Cage. And once I did that helped me get into WWE. I started doing extra work with WWE. So those seminars, they are great because some of the things that you don't think, some of the things you think you know, you really don't know. So true. Right. You really honestly don't know. And those seminars show that you are very coachable and you're going to do exactly as they ask you. And that's basically what they're looking for. Are you coachable? Can you, if I know you've been doing this for 15 years over here, but if I ask you to do this, how is your attitude? How are you gonna perceive me when I give you constructive criticism? Those are the main keys, and that's why I say that helped me, because once I close this, open these up, and open these up, that helped me, because then when I went to those seminars, it was like, oh, okay. Constructive criticism in this business is huge. If you cannot take constructive criticism, you're in the wrong business.
I agree 100%. I tell you, Martin, there's been 1,000 guys come up to me and say, watch my match. And then when I tell them what they did wrong, they say, yeah, I know what I'm doing wrong. And then they don't correct it. I hate that worse. I mean, if you know what you're doing wrong, stop doing it. So let's talk about a couple more things. We're going to get off here. I want to talk about it. So Precious is very flamboyant. This character is, I mean, it's Adrian Street. Everyone really, really, it's a gay character. So you've toned it down some, and it's more flamboyant than it is a gay character. But what made you say, hey, I'm going to do a gay character? Who came up with this? Was it something you said I could do it and I'm going to have such a fun time with it? Or what made you want to do that?
No, it was actually a mockery. Charlie Parks, V-Man, and all those guys that I named. I call it, I'm a straight shooter. I'm just going to call it how it is. They all told me, that I was never going to make it in the business. I wasn't going to go anywhere. And they said, hey, we're going to give you this gimmick. We're going to give you a gay gimmick. And at first I didn't really want to do it. But then I said, you know what? I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it for what it's worth. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to run with it. So I said, okay, I've been watching wrestling. I'm a student of the game. So I took a little bit of Adrian Street, Austin Idol, Tully Blanchard, Jimmy Valiant. I took those 4 guys and I put a little bit of each one of them into Precious.
Well, the Precious character is the same when it comes for Adrian Street. The Precious character, when he came out, it was so, you're still flamboyant as Precious, but I'm talking about really over the top. You came to the ring, you did a couple of comedy spots, but then when you started getting your heat, when you was a heel, you was mean. I mean, you would choke the guy, you would beat the shit out of him. It was exactly what Adrian Street did, and I always loved it when you turned it on. You know, a lot of people love the comedy, but as soon as the comedy left and you turned that character into a badass and you could show everybody that you could actually work and wrestle, I always liked that part of it. I got to ask you something else, because Rude and when I had Johnny Dotson on here, we talked about this a little bit. Do you think you was ever held back because you're a black wrestler from Memphis, Tennessee? Do you believe there was something there at any time during your career that someone said, oh, you're a Memphis wrestler and you're a black guy?
I'm gonna say no, that was never said to me, was that I'm from Memphis. What was said to me was, like D'Lo Brown told me. D'Lo Brown told me in TNA Gut Check at my tryout. He said, brother, he said, you know, it was 10 of us, and he went around and critiqued everybody, and he did it 3 times, and all 3 times he was like, I'm gonna come back to you. All 3 times, and then he finally came back to me and say, there's nothing I can say to you. He said, you have it. You have the total package. You have something we can't teach, that's charisma. He said, if it was up to me, you would have a job. But it wasn't up to him for me to get a job. It was up to the powers to be. So, no, that was never said to me, because what was said to me was, get out of Memphis. Get out of Memphis. Get out of Memphis. But me being black, I think that played a part in it. Me being black. Yeah, of course. But as far as being told, me being black and never gonna make it, no, I was always told, get out of Memphis.
Have you felt like with there is some change going on? Memphis is sometimes behind in the times, but have you felt where that doesn't even, it's all about your talent now. It doesn't even come into effect about what color you are.
Yes, because I look at this, and Precious was ahead of the curve 15 years ago, because I was doing that character 15 years ago. And this was before Exolysis, what's his name? Concrete Rose.
Right.
Yeah, in AEW. This was before Orlando Jordan started doing it in TNA. And this was before the other guy, they just fired him, that was in WWE. I can't think his name, but I hear people say this all the time. They say, well, you're too over the top. You're too over the top. Tone it down. But yet you look at national TV and you see guys that's doing the gimmick, doing the same character, and they're completely over the top. Right. So,
well, that's something about wrestling that you almost have to be over the top. Every part of your character is over the top, even as simple as me. I mean, I'm kind of quiet spoken when we're sitting here talking, but when I'm on my podcast, I'm loud and I'm a little outrageous. I'll say something that I wouldn't say. But me, when it comes to professional wrestling, you have to be, that's you, over the top. So let's go real quick. You threw Precious to the side because of a choke slam from Lance Archer, who returned last week on AEW. And you are Martin now. which if you know Martin in his real life, in his shoot life, he is Martin. That's him. That's Martin right there. And whose idea was it for you to lose your memory and come back as somebody else? And how fun is it?
It's fun.
It looks fun. It looks like you're having a great time.
Yes, it's fun because I really, I'm gonna be honest, you know, I was kind of iffy about doing it because all I know was Precious. Precious got me this far where I'm at now. But when I sit down and I think about it, you have those naysayers that say, okay, he's hiding behind that character and that gimmick, and he can't work, he can't wrestle. So when the idea came up for me to do it, I said, okay, let's do it, because now I can show everyone that I can work. And when I say work, it's a difference. Most people say, okay, I can go out there and do this, I can do this, do that. But my terminology of working is when my talent level is here and the guy that you're working talent level is here, but when you can take that guy that's here and elevate him here where you are, then that makes you a worker.
That's the description of a good worker. And I always told any of the guys I worked with, they'd say, man, that guy's shit in the ring. Well, you're shit in the ring too if you can't have a good match with him. That's right. I mean, that's the way I always believed. You should be able to have a match. Well, there's a joke about Ric Flair. He could have a match with the broomstick. But that is my belief, that if you are a good enough worker, you can work with anybody. I remember, and you know Motley Cruz, I remember Motley Cruz backstage with somebody, and he was going to work this green guy, and this green guy was scared to death because Motley's been in the business forever. And Motley said, what's your best 3 moves? And the guy gave him 3 moves, and he said, just stick to that and listen. And that's the only 3 moves that guy did the whole match, and Motley worked the whole match around him. So there's, and you're right, it's bringing that guy up that's not at your level to your level so that you can have a good match. How has it been so far with my buddy Dustin Starr there? We provide content with Rolling Into Memphis podcast with him. I've known Dustin forever. And okay, it's just me and you here. Nobody's listening. How's it working for Dustin?
It's great. It is great. It's phenomenal. I love Dustin. I love Maria because they have revived Memphis wrestling. Whoever thought it would be them too. Dustin has always been great to me. Even when to this day, I still don't know how he found out. He found out that I had a tryout in TNA, and he instant messaged me on Facebook and was like, hey, when you get back to Memphis, this is my number. When you get back to Memphis, call me. And this was in 2013. He had just came back from working with WWE. You know, he was hired, and they released him. And after that, when I got back and I called him and we talked, and Dustin has been a true friend ever since that day. And he's brought Maria along for the ride. When I say I love them, I love Dustin and Maria for just doing what they do. Just doing what they do.
I say that a lot of times, and I said it at the banquet. There's a lot of people in Memphis, Tennessee that could have started Memphis Wrestling back. The guy that did had the dedication to keep putting it on television, keep putting a good product, working on the storylines and the whole 9 yards, and that was Dustin Starr. And that's what I had to ask King Cobra about that. And I wanted him to stress that he believed him, and that's the thing about it. All you guys believe this guy because he works so hard. He's such a hard worker. All right, we're gonna quit. Talking about Dustin. Hey, man, I appreciate you stopping by. I don't kayfabe me here because I know Precious is gonna come back sometime, but I don't know when. So don't tell me when. I just want to tell everybody thanks for joining us. Remember, same bad time, same bad channel. The Wait, what?
Hold on a minute. Hold on just a minute, BT. Hold on. Wait a minute.
All right. I don't think I've ever had anybody leave the studio as I'm doing my catchphrase. There's always a first for everything here on STSPod.club. I'm waiting on Martin to return. Oh my. If you're not watching the video, guys, go out of your way to watch it. Precious has returned. Like I said, same bad time, same bad channel on the best little wrestling podcast in the business. Be there. And as everyone knows, I love my mama.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to Memphis Wrestling on Sunday, January 30th, former AEW Women's World Champion, the Native Beast, Nyla Rose. Tickets are on sale now at ChampionshipWrestlingMemphis.com. Get ready, wrestling fans. Memphis Wrestling is really heating up. Saturday, January 29th, watch WWE Royal Rumble absolutely free. Join us at Dave & Buster's for our next free watch party. Plus, we'll hook you up with a free power card. That's Dave & Buster's Wolf Chase. Sunday, January 30th, the Man Beast, Rhino, is coming to Memphis Wrestling. The return of Tiger Joe. And if that wasn't enough, we'll crown our next Cobra Cup winner. Tickets are available now in advance at ChampionshipWrestlingMemphis.com. Sunday, February 13th, celebrate 1 year with us. It's the Memphis Wrestling Anniversary Spectacular, featuring the Ring of Honor World Champion, Jonathan Gresham. Don't miss history being made at the Wrestle Center. All tickets and details are available right now at ChampionshipWrestlingMemphis.com.
Do you have what it takes to become a pro wrestler? Prove it with the best in Memphis wrestling. I'm head coach King Cobra, and I want to see what you've got. Hit me up today at ChampionshipWrestlingMemphis.com.
American Hostile Championship Wrestling returns to Malden, Missouri, February 12th to the Malden Community Center. That's 607 North Douglas Street in Malden, Missouri. Tickets are available ringside $10. General admission tickets are $8. Kids 5 and under are free. You get $1 off advance tickets. This show features Austin the Reaper Bolo, The Posse, Big Jack Parker Jr., Mid-America Champion Mark Southern Jr., Rude, Jason Bond, Derek, The King, Denzel Rollins, Big Mac, and many more. Card is subject to change. Be there February 12th, Malden, Missouri. For advance tickets, call 636-232-3313. That's 636-232-3313. This episode is also brought to you by SpunkLube.com. Remember, when you're getting funky like a monkey, if you know what I mean, use Spunky. That's right. Go to www.spunklube.com and tell them STSPod sent you. You want the best, you got the best. The best little wrestling podcast in the business. All episodes on www.stspod.club. Did you enjoy that episode? Cash app us at $BTSTS. If you've never downloaded the Cash App, download it today. You'll get a free, that's right, a free $5 for using the code $BTSTS. That's $BTSTS. Hey, that was another great episode of Shootin The Shiznit. Thank you for listening, and thank you to all our sponsors. A big shout out to Bob McGee, at Pro Wrestling's Between the Sheets. Remember, you can reach us on Twitter at comicbookmarkbt, Instagram at BT Shootin The Shiznit. That's right, Shootin The Shiznit without a G. Facebook Shootin The Shiznit, and Facebook Cool Kids Wrestling and MMA Talk. If we don't like you in that group, first you have to ask to get in. If we don't like you, we'll kick you out. All the episodes are at one place, and that's www.stspod.club. Podcast Roll Call, Who's Right Podcast, Po Boys Podcast, E3 Radio, my buddy it's Richard Josh, My World with Conrad Thompson and my friend Jeff Terry. Lance's favorite include Nickology, Rock Solid, Playlist Wars, I'm Fat Podcast. Hey guys, remember, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.